Have you ever noticed how the world feels completely different after midnight? Like something in the air quietly changes the moment everyone else goes to sleep. The noise fades, the messages slow down, the pressure to be available suddenly disappears, and it's just you, your thoughts, and a strangely peaceful kind of silence. And maybe you've asked yourself at some point, why does this feel so right? Because here's the interesting part. While most people are winding down at night, a small group of people are actually just getting started. Their focus sharpens, their mind becomes clearer, their creativity wakes up. And even though they might struggle to explain it, they feel more alive when the world is asleep. But why does this happen? Is it just a habit, a lifestyle choice, or is there something deeper going on inside your brain that makes the night feel like your natural habitat? Let's slowly unpack that, because the psychology behind people who prefer night over day is far more fascinating than most people realize. First, imagine a typical daytime world. Alarm clocks screaming at dawn, rush hour traffic, bright sunlight flooding everything, emails, responsibilities, noise, expectations. It's a world built for action, structure, and performance. For some people, that environment feels energizing, but for others, it feels like trying to think clearly in the middle of a storm. Now contrast that with night. The same city, but softer, dimmer, slower. The world stops asking things from you. There's no pressure to respond instantly, no constant background judgment, no urgency buzzing in your pocket. It's almost like reality exhales. And for certain brains, that's when everything finally clicks into place. Psychologists often talk about something called chronotypes, which is basically your body's natural preference for being awake at certain times. Some people are early birds, naturally alert in the morning. Others are night owls, reaching their peak mental clarity when most people are asleep. This isn't just preference in the casual sense. It's deeply connected to biology, especially your internal clock or circadian rhythm. Think of your brain like a machine that runs on a cycle of hormones. In the morning, your body releases more cortisol, which helps wake you up and prepare for the day. At night, melatonin rises, making you feel sleepy. But in night-oriented people, that rhythm can shift slightly. Their alertness doesn't fully peak in the morning hours. Instead, it slowly builds as the day progresses and reaches its strongest point in the late evening or even midnight. So when you feel like your brain is finally online at 1 a.m., it's not your imagination, it's your internal wiring speaking. But biology is only part of the story, because psychology steps in and adds another layer. Think about your personality during the day. You might feel distracted, socially pressured, or mentally scattered. But at night, something changes. You become more introspective, more honest with yourself, less concerned with how you're being perceived. It's like your mind finally stops performing for the world and starts speaking to you directly. And this is where things get really interesting. Many people who prefer nighttime actually experience what psychologists call reduced social inhibition at night. That doesn't mean they become different people. It means the mental filters we use during the day start to loosen. During daylight hours, your brain is constantly processing social expectations, how you appear, what others think, what needs to be done next. It's like having dozens of browser tabs open at once. But at night, most of those tabs close, and suddenly your thoughts become louder, clearer, and more personal. This is why so many people say they do their best thinking at night. It's not just silence outside, it's silence inside the social part of your brain. Have you ever noticed how ideas feel deeper at night? How memories resurface more vividly? How you suddenly start thinking about your life, your choices, your future in ways you never do during the day? That's not random. Neuroscience suggests that in quieter environments, the brain shifts into a more default mode network state. This is the part of your brain that activates when you're not focused on external tasks. It's responsible for reflection, imagination, and connecting ideas. In simple terms, it's your inner thinking space. During the day, this system is constantly interrupted, but at night, it finally gets room to breathe. So when you're lying in bed at 2 a.m. thinking about your life, your childhood, your goals, or even random memories you forgot existed, your brain is doing something very natural.
It's organizing, processing, and connecting emotional dots. But there's another layer that makes night lovers even more interesting: creativity. Many artists, writers, thinkers, and innovators throughout history preferred working at night, not because it was fashionable, but because their minds felt more fluid in that environment. There's a psychological reason for this. At night, your brain tends to enter a slightly more relaxed state of attention. You're less focused on immediate survival tasks and more open to associative thinking. That means your mind is more likely to connect unrelated ideas, a memory from childhood, a conversation from earlier, a random thought you had yesterday, and suddenly they combine into something new. It's like your brain becomes a quiet studio where ideas can finally collide without interruption. But of course, this doesn't mean being a night person is always easy, because while the night feels peaceful, the world you live in is still designed for daytime functioning. Work schedules, school hours, social expectations, they all assume you're awake and alert early in the day. So if your natural rhythm is different, you might constantly feel slightly out of sync with the world. And that can create a strange emotional experience. During the day, you might feel like you're pushing yourself through fog, like your mind is lagging behind reality. But at night, you feel like you finally caught up to yourself. This contrast can sometimes make night feel not just comfortable, but necessary, like it's the only time you can truly be you without interference. And here's something important to understand. This doesn't automatically mean something is wrong with you. It doesn't mean you're lazy, unproductive, or avoiding life. It often just means your internal rhythm doesn't perfectly match the average schedule. In fact, some studies suggest that night-oriented individuals often score higher in traits like openness to experience. That means they are more curious, imaginative, and reflective. They tend to question things more deeply rather than accepting them at face value. But there's also a psychological trap that sometimes comes with the night. Because the night is quiet, it can also become emotionally amplified. Without distractions, your thoughts don't just become clearer, they become louder. Worries feel bigger, memories feel heavier, overthinking becomes easier. It's like your mind, once freed from external noise, sometimes turns inward with too much intensity. And that's why some people love the night, but also struggle with it. It becomes a space of both clarity and emotional depth, peace and intensity, creativity and reflection, comfort and overthinking, all existing at the same time. Have you ever had that moment where you tell yourself, "I'll just think for 5 minutes," and suddenly it's 3 a.m. and you've mentally rewritten your entire life story? That's the night effect. It pulls you into yourself in a way the day never does. But there's something quietly beautiful about that too. Because in a world that constantly pushes you outward towards productivity, performance, and social interaction, the night gives you something rare. It gives you inwardness. It gives you a space where you are not being measured, judged, or rushed, just present with your own thoughts. And maybe that's why some people naturally gravitate toward it, not because they are avoiding the world, but because they are finally able to hear themselves within it. Still, it's important to find balance, because while night can feel like a sanctuary, your body still needs rhythm, light, and rest to function properly. The healthiest version of a night-oriented person is not someone who rejects daytime completely, but someone who understands their rhythm and works with it instead of against it. And maybe that's the real insight here. Being someone who prefers night over day isn't just about sleep schedules. It's about how your mind interacts with silence, with reflection, and with yourself. It's about when your brain feels safe enough to think freely without pressure. So the next time you find yourself awake when the world is asleep, don't immediately assume something is wrong. Instead, notice what your mind is doing. Are you thinking more clearly, more deeply, more honestly? Because for many people like you, the night isn't just the absence of sunlight, it's the presence of self. And maybe that's why, even when you know you should sleep, you stay awake a little longer. Not because you can't rest, but because for the first time all day, you finally feel awake in the way that matters most.